This is also the month of Our Lady, so let's today focus in on the spiritual connection now between Our Lady and our Lord. What was that connection exactly? And this is taken from the book, and this is by a Father Laverty, which is described as one of the truly remarkable books the Catholic reader will ever encounter. It's a tan book, and it's described like that. And in this book, he goes into the very heart of this matter, of this spiritual connection, and he refers to it there as interior life. So this is about developing the interior life. Anyway, right out of the stall, Father Laverty says, I am the vine and you are the branches. Obviously our Lord's words and the meaning was, or the consequences are important, because as the vine reaches, as the branch reaches deep into the vine, it's able to absorb from the life, the sap from deep in the vine. And that's really what Our Lady became an expert at doing. So that was really her source or her secret. And to reach that degree, in fact, to reach the degree where she knew always what the will of God was, and she always moved and corresponded exactly with God's will. Can you and we ever reach that level? Let's have a look, let's investigate. Now, firstly, Father Laverty writes that growing deep into the vine is the only way to bear fruit. Those were the words of our Lord himself. Secondly, there's another word or another concept, we could say, for this branch absorbing the sap from deep in the vine, and as we said, it's called the interior life. He's speaking about developing this interior life, but what does it mean? He shuts the door on the idea that interior life, commonly thought of as hidden life, they're not necessarily the same thing at all. It's misleading because a person can remain hidden from public view, we can say, and yet they have no connection to God within that. Perhaps they're just hidden, but they're studying how they can invest in coins and gold or something, how to improve their lot in life, has nothing to do with God. And yet, on the other hand, someone like Padre Pio was always dealing with crowds of people, and yet he had this interior life. He was interiorly infused with God. So it refers to this life in union with God, and it's extrapolated right out of our Lord's words, the vine and the branches. Now, interestingly, our Lord's life, he had 30 years that were hidden from public view. What was he doing in these 30 years? Well, he was praying, he was reflecting, he was of course making a living as well, but basically he was just doing God's will, and he was gaining in sanctifying grace, unity with God. Until one day there was this explosion in his life, we could say his public life began, and after that the world changed. Opposite is also true, that if the branch becomes withered, then it can no longer absorb sap, and because of that it will no longer bear any fruit. Might be the most intelligent, eloquent person, but without bearing any fruit. Ultimately, for Our Lady to reach the degree where she could stand at the foot of the cross, so surrounding all of this are the worst, the most hardened, slyest, most callous people. Evil had really been unveiled, but there was this oasis right in the midst of that, and that was the heart of Our Lady. What was she doing there? She was transfixed on what our Lord was going through, and she was praying for the conversion of those around. She was obviously praying for our Lord as well. That's the degree she reached. And the fruits of that, well, he indicates, Father Laverty indicates, there were conversions happening right there. Obviously, the good thief dying on the cross, he converted, as did the centurion. And so Our Lady was really the oasis in that crisis. That was what remained of that church, because our Lord, remember, had been put to death at a certain point. Now, Father Laverty's understanding is that Christ, through his sufferings, he actually won for us these infinite treasures. He won these for the church. But how do we now get hold of these treasures?
Virgo prudentissima.